If it ain't wet, wet, I don't want it. Get it out of here.
I know, Nikki, you have an interesting perspective on this as well because we have these conversations about spirituality. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts about, how do you overcome those negative thoughts that you were taught by
God will
religion?
forgive you. He'll forgive you. That's all I'm saying.
For me, I don't know that I had negative thoughts because of religion. My dad, he was his mother was married at 14, and she started having kids, at a young age.
Oh wow.
I have a sister. I'm one of 13. I don't know all my brothers and sisters, but this sister in particular, she had her first child at 12. And so for me, it wasn't negative thoughts because of religion. It was just kind of like negative thoughts because I'm like, I want to be a kid. I want to grow up and I want to see, what life have to offer. But when we add spirituality into it, I don't have any negative thoughts when it comes to that. As long as the situation is right and both people are wanting to do it, I feel like that there's no negativity about it.
I agree.
And plus, I sage a lot, so all the
Yeah.
negativity goes out the window when I open it and let my house breathe. So,
right. I agree.
but yeah. So I don't really have negative thoughts. I know that people religion to me oftentimes will kind of have like a fear base
yeah,
around
hinder
it.
you a little bit. Hold
Yeah,
you back.
so
Yeah.
their thing is let's control the masses with this fear, and if you
Right.
go out and have sex, then you're gonna have babies, and we're gonna shun you, and we're not gonna
Right.
love on you, and you can't be a part of this, that, and the third. And I think it's because of that I don't do religious things, and I'm not,
Right.
a participant in religion in
Mhm.
that sense. And to me, honestly, that's probably the only negative that I have is that I'm
Mhm.
not with making people be ashamed of their bodies and what they are here. Who am I to say what your purpose is? Your purpose might have been to have that child at
Right.
this age or that age. It might have been to experience certain things. And so, we just want to keep people from um, the negative effects of that mindset. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's about. I
Boy,
overcome it by just not subscribing to
To
it.
those,
the,
okay.
the fear of God scares a lot of people, boy. I tell you
Dr. Carol.
that.
Being a person that has not made religion a part of my life because I'm very spiritual, one thing that I have did was look at a lot of different religions, and one thing that I have noticed was that the universe makes no mistakes.
Come
So
on with it.
anything that happens, our path is going to be wherever it is, regardless of what we do. So it's already laid. So with that being said, I trust that God has made no mistakes in my life or how I feel or what I think at that moment for me to get to where I need to be to do his work. Do that make sense?
Absolutely.
And the reason why I have come to that conclusion because I was a teen mom, a person from Chicago, a project kid. Me having my child young has changed me drastically. I don't know where I would be if I have not had him when I had him. Do that make sense?
Mhm.
So with that being said, I had to reflect on my life. When people said, hey, you're not going to graduate, this, that, and the other, I said to myself, I had to sit back and go into my spiritual space and say, God makes no mistakes.
And
He makes
he's a
no
forgiving
mistakes.
God, though. He is a forgiving God.
He makes no mistakes. So with that being said, if he put in my heart to have the feelings or to like other same sex or whatever, just to, in sake of who our listeners are, that is where it needs to be. And we have to understand that if we do not take that time to, on a spiritual level, give God the platform to talk to us, we're not going to know what we're doing. So to move that over into a healthy sex life, everything, like I said, happens for a reason. And for us to have that moment with another individual, we have to know those are those waves and those are those connections that we have spiritually. So the only thing that I would say about this is know the difference between what our spirit is saying to have with that person versus physical and mental, because technically our brain works in a way of protecting us going into back schemas versus our spirit would go within that moment.
Yeah, that spirit is truth.
It's going within that moment. So we shouldn't be overthinking a situation when our spirit is telling us to go for it, or our spirit is just telling us to leave, or if our spirit is telling us this, that, or the third. So that's where my take on the negative thoughts.
And you know, I kind of think that premarital sex, I think that children is for the marriage. Children is not for the boyfriend. You know, children is not for the dude that you crushing on. Children is for the marriage. Children, you know, for a woman, the child is for the husband. That way that you don't have these children out of wedlock and you have a broken home. If these women and men start doing it the right way and marry each other before they bring a child into the world, then you don't have to worry about raising a bastard child or a child being in a broken home because y'all just out here having premarital sex and doing it wrong, and then y'all just popping babies everywhere. You know, so even when I mentor the women, I tell them, hey, children are for the marriage. Not for the boyfriend or some dude that you claim you love. It has to be for your husband, and that way we can save a lot of these broken homes.
Okay. Tia, your thoughts?
I don't know if I have necessarily negative thoughts. Of course, I grew up in church, and we were taught that it's better to marry than to burn, and you're not supposed to fornicate, and all of those things. I've heard it forever, but never with instructions on what to do, to overcome it. So I would say that God is a forgiving God, and He is a loving God. He's our Father. And I think He knows what the decisions we're going to make even before we make them.
Absolutely.
Similar to what you were saying, Dr. Carol. I think He knows that. Now, I'm also of the mindset that I think we should be in relationship with our God, with our spiritual Father. And I think we should hear and listen to His direction in our lives. And I don't think we should just throw things out. Well, I'm just going to do what I want to do. I think there is order in everything that happens in this life, decent in order. So I'm never going to say, well, you shouldn't or you should. I'm going to say you need to listen to the guidance of your spiritual Father. And if you are convicted not to, then I don't think you're wrong when you don't. Right. If you do not find that conviction to do, then you just do that. And I'm not going to judge anybody that does it. I had premarital sex. I absolutely did, even though I was taught not to. It was something I did, and did God strike me down? No. Do I still have favor in my life? Yes. I have 3 beautiful children. I had my first out of wedlock. Well, we got married right before I had her, but still, it happened before. And I'm still blessed, and God still has favor in me. And I think we gotta look at those pieces of it. For me,
Miss Tia, have you ever had sex with somebody, and then when you got done, you was like, "Man, I knew I shouldn't have had sex with them."
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. You think your spirit told you not to screw buddy before you did it?
I don't know.
Or did you fight against it?
I'm not sure if I even had that mindset at the point at that time, because in retrospect I can say I probably should not have, because I think we grow, and I think we our path becomes clear as we grow and as we're able to tell ourselves a set of truths. But in that moment I probably thought it was cool. But as I grew as a woman, then I could look at that and go, well, what did that benefit me? Did it help move my life forward? Did it make me feel bad about myself? Because I think sometimes we tie what we do to, okay, well, I did that and he didn't do what I wanted him to do, so now that was a bad decision.
Well, I tell
but
you
it could have just it's a thing for me to grow.
I tell you what.
I think for personally, this is a subject that we kind of talk about offline a lot. I do think that religion does teach individuals that sex is wrong. And so then what happens is, as you become an adult and you start trying to figure out who you are from a sexual standpoint, you're confused. I always say this, you have women who get married. They don't just become freaks overnight. They're ashamed about their bodies. They don't know how to they don't want to pleasure themselves because of the things that we've been taught that sex is not
So close.
bad, that it's bad.
Yeah.
We've been taught from a very closed-minded perspective.
Absolutely.
And so I feel, even with myself, as I'm older, I'm 42 this year.
Ooh, a woman that
Just
tells
thinking
her
about,
age.
at 42, it's like, okay, is it realistic for me to not have sex until I get married? I don't know if that's realistic at this point in my life. And that's the reality. I'm just gonna be keeping it real, keeping it honest. That's just the reality. But then, what keeps you from fully, as we talk about these other questions, achieving that level of an orgasm is what you're thinking about when you're going through it. So if you're thinking this is not right, this is bad, you're not fully there and present in the moment. And so that's why I brought that question up, because that stops a lot of people from really realizing who they are from a sexual standpoint.
I agree with that, and just to kind of bring it back to the whole religion thing, there's a giant difference between religion and spirituality.
Absolutely.
And for me, I've never been the kind of person that cared about what anybody thought about me, or I've always kind of went out and learned for myself. So even growing up as a kid, hearing about how religion is how religion wants you to wait till you're married and things of that nature, I still I just lost my train of thought. Basically, for me, it's like, this is what man is saying, and how imperfect is man. And I've always just kind of looked at it like that. That's why it wasn't really hard for me to, I've been a part of all kinds of different churches, Catholic, apostolic, just all kinds. And I've seen all their views on it. But to me, it's like, okay, so pastor is saying this, and this is how he want me to behave, but I just saw a pastor in the hallway with Miss So-and-so, and that didn't seem very, whatever. So it's like, when you start seeing things like that, even as a kid, you're looking like, okay, so let me just kind of figure this out for myself. Now, the thing with spirituality is, that's when you're having that conversation with God. You going to church and listening to the pastor and other men or women talk about what you should and shouldn't do with regards to religion and sexuality or whatever it is way different than you actually having that conversation with God, and God, that spirit, or God, create whatever it is that you listen to, having that connection and communicating things to you. And to be honest, even when you are religious, you still have spirit, you still have God talking to you, saying that this is right, this is wrong, this is how you should do it. So there's a difference there, and I just kind of look at it as religion is how we all can sit around here and talk about things, and the views that we want to push onto our children or whoever else. And God and spirituality is a whole nother thing, but that's where the negative thoughts come from. Right.
It does, and I think we need to teach responsibility. I think when it comes to sex, I think we need to start teaching our children how to be responsible. And we do need to teach the physical side of just even recognizing what it is. So we do have a comment, one of our Facebook viewers, Eric Shelton, huge difference between religion and spiritual. I'm more spiritually connected, and my spirit speaks to me. That's
absolutely,
where
brother.
I base my decisions not off religious beliefs.
100%. Right.
So we'll go to the next question.
All right.
We got some more to get through. How would you? I want to come back. I don't want to go in that order. I'm going to switch it up, spice up a little bit.
Okay.
So before I ask the next question, I want to bring out the stat: 75% of all women have never reached an orgasm from intercourse alone. That's without the extra help of sex toys, hands, or a tongue. And 10 to 15% never climax under any circumstances. Now, that's huge. 75% of all women never reach an orgasm from intercourse alone.
Wow.
So my question is it the man's sole responsibility? Is the man solely responsible for the woman having an orgasm? Who want to tackle that question first?
Who wants to go first?
I would say no. And that's one of those thought-provoking questions that we as women have to think about before we get into relationships. Because as women, we think very unrealistically sometimes when it comes to relationships and what we're thinking in that process, especially those who may have low self-esteem or trying to be in the moment of pleasing somewhere else instead of thinking about what they're feeling in the moment. And we also have to look